Today we do a premium meta-analysis based on the new BCS Malaysia results.
Take a look at who I am now. I'm stronger than ever. And if you ever doubted me, you should've known better.
So BCS Malaysia just ended, literally like 2 hours ago or something, so I figured we'd go over what decks topped. Now I will say, it's not because certain decks did well at one specific tournament that makes them like rulers of the format or something, but it is a good indication. So we have the top 4 teams right here, meaning we have 12 decks and we can see which decks did really well basically. So the top 4 included 3 Ange, 2 Ezel, 2 Angel Geese, 1 Magus deck, 1 Nubatama deck, 1 Luard deck, 1 Pale Moon deck, and 1 Spike Brothers deck. So overall, this is pretty diverse. Now, do note that Team League will always be a bit more diverse than a single player tournament because there's a bit more randomization in what matchups could occur, because only 1 out of 3 people can play the same deck. However, it is looking pretty good. So we have 3 Ange. This really shows that Ange is still a really strong deck. Note that BCS Malaysia is still in the English metagame, so they are post Miyagi right now. This is not post Phyllis Deleter, this is not post Melody, so this is Ange without the new triggers. Overall though, even with the new cards from the Melody set, Ange really doesn't change much, because lots of old cards are just that good. Now, we also have the 2 other best decks, let's say, for this event at least, and that is Ezel. No big surprise there. Ezel just got its support in Miyagi, making it just slightly better than it was already. Do note though that it's still pretty high roll, so when you go second, when you don't get all your pieces early, the deck is just pretty mediocre in that later game, unless you get to an Ultima. But even then, if you didn't have that insane push you normally have, that Ultima turn is also less devastating. Then we have Angel Geese. Now the interesting thing with Geese is that yes, it fucks quite a few decks, but it does get ruined by Ezel and Great Nature. The thing is, in Team League, you're less likely to see those matchups because only one person on the team can run a certain deck. So even if every single team runs an Ezel, that's still only a 1 in 3 chance that you're gonna verse Ezel when you're running Geese. However, not every team is running Ezel, so this makes it easier to dodge some of those harder matchups. So Angel Geese, 2 showings out of the 12, pretty solid result overall. We didn't see any OTT Geese, which is interesting. I guess it's because it's quite a boring deck to pilot, and maybe it's just not as good as Angel Geese. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Angel Geese doesn't plus as much, but it does heal, so it's like, we don't really know. Now, next up, we have 1 Magus deck. Now, I will say this Magus deck, it's some sort of an Itchy Tom meets Magus deck. Obviously, they still need a finisher. They're just using the Magus engine to stack triggers to plus a bit more, and they can use the new support in Tetra, Kuor, and so forth. Then we have 1 Nubatama. Obviously, with Miyagi, Nubatama got some spicy cards. They have the new bird that makes you discard 5, which is devastating when they get it off. They have Rine, which is still really strong, apart from, of course, when you have protect markers in hand, that makes Rine much weaker. But just that discard 5 into that discard 2, and then you still have to guard those extra attacks, that does hurt a lot. I will say though, the deck feels a bit piece reliant, and so it's kind of high rolly, just like Ezel. Not as much as Ezel, but still, it's not the most consistently badass deck, let's say. Then we had 1 Luard. Luard is still up there. People all the time, they're going, oh, it's not as good anymore, and every single time it still gets a top somewhere, or just a few even, because Luard is just a very consistent deck. I think a lot has to change for Luard to not be good anymore. Now, I will say it's not top dog. I wouldn't say it's like the tier 1 deck, but whenever there's an event, you will probably see a Luard pop up because it just can build against the meta. If they see, oh, Honolulu is gonna be needed, they can fetch that. If they see, oh, we're gonna need more draw power, they can get that. They just are very versatile. They are the toolbox deck in the meta, basically. Then we have 1 Pale Moon. This is probably surprising for some, but Pale Moon is actually a really solid deck. A lot of people just don't seem to notice it because it is a bit harder to pilot, I would say. There are many lines of play, and apart from that, to really kill hard, it needs a lot of counterblast. And so we just came out of this damage deny meta from NLK and Geese being top dogs, which made it very hard for Pale Moon to truly shine. But now that that's kind of over, because Azelin, Great Nature, Body, Geese, and NLG got restricted, Pale Moon actually has a time to shine again. Now, it is still Soul Charge reliant. If you Soul Charge badly, yes, the deck can brick, but overall it's still a solid pick. It's a really good rogue deck, basically. Finally, we had one Spike Brothers in there. Spike Brothers is a bit like Luard, in my opinion, in that it's very, very consistent. They can both play a very strong early game, and then once they get to striding, they have some strong finishers on top of that. Overall, it's just a really hard deck to get rid of. I think ever since the GB8 has been put into the game, this deck has always been a solid rogue pick, and so we see that here yet again. Overall, it's really cool to see, because Spike Brothers used to be one of those really bad decks, and then they got a little bit of support, and just like that, they're completely relevant. Now, looking at this pie chart, I do think this is relatively representative of the meta. I think it's a bit weird that there's not more Great Nature. Overall, Geese is just having a solid time to shine now that it's Team League, and Ange is still doing insanely well, obviously. Overall, also a really good handful of rogue decks. Well, I wouldn't even say that these are rogue. It's more so that they aren't seen as the top best picks, but they're still really strong decks. So that is basically my quick premium meta analysis based on BCS Malaysia. So it could be that next week there's another BCS and the results are maybe a bit different. Maybe we see 3 Azel and we see more Luard or more Numbatama or more OTT. Things can change, but it is relatively representative, and so I do think it's interesting to have a look at here and there. That is all for today. Hope you found this interesting. If you did, please subscribe to the Solemn Vanguard channel and click the bell button to stay up to date. Like the video. If you liked the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. By the way, yes, I did make this pie chart. I'm very proud of it. Compliment me. Ciao.